Samantha Josephson was born in Princeton, New Jersey, and went on after high school to attend the University of South Carolina, where she majored in political science. She was a member of the Alpha Gamma Delta sorority and studied abroad in Barcelona and visited Madrid and Paris during her time at the University of South Carolina. In 2019, she was a 21-year-old senior, and she was looking forward to graduating that same year. She planned to then go on to Drexel University, and which she actually had a full scholarship to, and she aspired to practice international law. But on the night of March 28th, 2019, she was having a rough day. A family member of hers had gotten a bad diagnosis with their health. She was upset about it, and her boyfriend recommended that she go out and have a good time with her friends to get her mind off of things. She took him up on that, and on that night, March 28th, she spent the night in the Five Points district in South Carolina in downtown Columbia with friends, and she was out till about 2 a.m. Having a good time. And around that time, she decided to leave the Bird Dog bar that she was at and ordered an Uber. Being smart, doing the right thing, she'd been out drinking all night, and rather than drive, she ordered an Uber. And surveillance footage would capture her getting into a car at 2:09 a.m., a black Chevrolet Impala that had pulled up beside her. However, it was not her Uber, unfortunately. She thought it was. It was not. Her roommates saw her drive away in this car, but they did not hear from her the next day. And unfortunately, her body would be found in a field in Clarendon County by turkey hunters 14 hours later on the morning of March 29th, 2019. And it was a gruesome murder. It was horrific, really. The autopsy showed that she had been stabbed over 120 times. And knowing that the human body has several liters of blood in it, hers only contained 1.3 tablespoons during the autopsy. Thankfully, the next day, the police, this dipshit that killed her, was brash enough to drive around the same area the next day. On March 30th, police spotted a car driving around the Five Points area that matched the description, that black Chevrolet Impala. And the driver was a man named Nathaniel Rowland. And upon being pulled over, he jumped out of the car and ran away. Clear sign of guilt, obviously. Thankfully, he was caught and arrested at 3 a.m. that day. And inside the car, police found a plethora of evidence. They found a container of liquid bleach, germicidal wipes, and window cleaner. And the car also contained a large amount of blood in the passenger seat and in the trunk. Additionally, the child locks in the back were activated, which would have prevented Samantha or anyone else from escaping from the back seat once inside. It appears as though Nathaniel, upon getting her into the car, just began stabbing her from the front seat to the back. And this was a planned attack. He had been looking for a victim like Samantha, pretending to be an Uber driver, and pulled up at the right time while she was waiting and got her in there. It wasn't a very hard investigation for the police once they had him. His apartment had even more evidence. And on July 27th, 2021, Rowland was found guilty of kidnapping and murdering of the murder of Samantha Josephson and possessing a weapon during a violent crime. And it took a little over an hour for the jury to deliberate before returning with a sentence of life in prison. And the judge had some harsh words for him. Quote, "For whoever asked me for leniency, that's not part of my DNA," said Judge Newman. "There's 1,000 trails, each that led to you. All of the evidence, each speck of the evidence, not simply beyond a reasonable doubt, but as the highest standard the law requires, all points to your guilt." And the judge also characterized him as being heartless and said the case was the most severe murder he had seen in a court before. The one thing that is positive about this whole case is that there was laws that have been changed and new laws that have been created due to what happened to Samantha. You know, this was early in the ride-sharing days, and this spawned some new safety protocols. In June of 2019, the Samantha L. Josephson Ride-Sharing Act was signed into the law in South Carolina, and it requires rideshare vehicles to display license plate numbers on the front. It also added fines for anyone caught impersonating a rideshare driver as well. Her murder also spawned New Jersey's Sammy's Law, which requires more identification on rideshare vehicles and basically forces them to have multiple placards on their vehicle proving that they're in fact a licensed rideshare driver. And so with her tragic death, which was horrific and done by an absolute monster, at least there's some good that came out of it, in that hopefully people that use rideshare services are more protected now, and these companies as well as law enforcement are more aware of the risks involved, and hopefully it becomes safer and safer to use Uber, Lyft, and these different rideshare services. But that's my case for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.
You hush your mouth, boy.